Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think this will be my last podcast before Election Day, which is only not even 5 days away, 4.5-ish. It's too much to think about, and, most people have already made up their minds long before they'll ever hear this, but there's something that just keeps weighing on me, and it's about my age group, that sandwich generation, and our parents and our children. It is, I never really understood the problem with, when I was younger, I didn't really pay too much attention to politics. So I never really understood when people would say, oh yes, we get into so many fights and everything, and these people don't speak. And then I would see later on in life on social media all of this stuff about politics, which I wouldn't even get into. And I still try not to, even though I'm doing this. But there are a lot of many reasons that I did not vote very often. As a matter of fact, this is only going to be my third time voting, and I'm 42. In my 20s, and when I was 18, there are certain things. 2008 was the first time that I ever voted, and it's insane to think that I missed so many other opportunities to vote, but I was so busy either moving around or having a child or just doing something that I did not pay enough attention to what was going on around me. And I do want to say that I love that young people now seem to be paying attention. That's great. However, I want to talk about our age range and how lonely it can be if you disagree in politics with your family or, different friends. And not lonely, really, but you just don't want to talk about it, because anytime you talk about it, you feel very, very much an outcast in your own unit. And it's not a fun place to be, and it's not a fun way to feel that simply by having a different view or opinion, you might get just ostracized or just shut out or looked at like you're not smart, or just you might be looked at like you're crazy. And then you have to feel that feeling that you feel when people are silently judging you or talking about you but won't say it. And it's just not a fun feeling. So I've tried to avoid it as much as I could. But then again, there's places like social media where you can post other things that I'm not going to say all of my family probably agrees with, and most of my friends are probably like, what in the world is she doing? However, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you have to be yourself, and what makes sense to one doesn't have to make sense to several. Now, my thing with feeling like I'm going to let my family down by how I choose to vote, that kind of has disappeared from me, because I'm grown. I don't have to worry about that, and I have learned my lesson about how I don't have to talk about politics and what I am going to do or what I'm not going to do. But in the past, it was a big deal. It was a really big deal. I centered most of my political viewpoints on asking questions to family or friends, and didn't really pay attention for myself. And I wish I had, because then maybe I would have done a few things differently, or maybe I would have gotten involved sooner. But it's no time like the present to understand these things. I'm that hindsight is 2020 girl. So if anybody has ever felt like they maybe were a little bit different in their viewpoints of the rest of their family and everything, it's okay. And I don't think that at this stage in our lives, in this age range, we should be ever letting anyone influence our thoughts and feel like we're a disappointment to them. And we can just keep our mouth shut and just do what we have to do. But I do think that it's important to note that I'm not upset by the way others think and what I was raised in. My parents and my family, I have a wonderful family. It's just that, my parents, they're in their late 60s. I'm in my early 40s. They grew up in a totally different time. They're a product of their environment. They were raised a certain way. Well, I'm that same product. It's just that somewhere along the way, I grew up seeing things differently than the rest of my family. Or not the rest of my family, just in a different way. I'm not going to call my family, I'm not going to say that they don't think certain things that I think. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that I've always felt different and responded differently. And I'm more of an outspoken kind of creative type that has to say something, either whether it's music or writing or something. And it's a little lonely feeling, but I always notice things that maybe weren't so relevant or to them or anybody else around me, but I always noticed them and never knew how I could make a difference with it. So I just tried to see everybody for everything and try. I had good morals instilled in me. I've used all of them collectively to try to be a good person to most people. I fail all the time. I have failed several years, especially bad years when I've been going through things and everything. But my whole point was that no longer do I feel like it matters that my opinion is so different. And I don't see myself as it being a curse that I was different and viewed things differently, because now maybe I can be that one to pass it on to my son and maybe a couple of my nieces or nephews or any friends or family members. Maybe there's something that I have to offer that goes further into our children's lives versus worrying about what my older members of family or older friends may think of me, because they're gonna love me regardless if there's love. So I have really struggled with that for most of my life. And it's not really necessarily anyone's fault. And if it was to be anyone's fault, it's my own mind, doing what I do. I just don't want anyone to mistakenly think that they are doing a disservice to older generations if they change the way things are going in this world by using their voice or by voting to make a difference, whatever difference you think that might be. In my opinion, it's hurtful that there are still powerful white men out there that are able to stand on platforms and say, we're going to take care of you whether you like it or not, and have these people in line with him, white males, still powerful white males, and actually some not even white, it's mixed now, but these powerful people, all men, really, really in favor of making sure women feel unequal and unimportant and disrespected and disregarded and worth less than them. And it is despicable, and I don't know how the world will look if they get their way, and it's very sad to me. There are 100 million other things that I could debate about and talk about that I've paid attention to and watched over the last several months. Like I said, I've been given the gift of time to look and pay attention, but that one really hits home to me, and it makes me think of my son and his future. It makes me think of my 3 nieces and their future, my 2 nephews, their future, everyone's future, cousins, just anyone's future, really, the future of this country. If we go back, just think about, and going back to the whole older generations, didn't our mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers fight for the rights to vote, and that's what suffrage was, and then the Roe v. Wade, it just all of it. Why, oh why would anybody put a tyrant that wants to be like that to women back in office? Just for that simple fact alone. Again, it's my opinion. We're all going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to do it secretly because everybody knows we get shamed. But I just truly believe that the things that are crumbling before our eyes, and I mean, let's not forget the Me Too movement. How long did that take? Who had to speak up for that? Who had to speak up for Diddy? Whew, that's a whole nother podcast right there. That, I mean, it's not just, I mean, Cat Williams was right. It's not just about, it's not a race thing or a anyone versus anyone thing. It's a good versus evil kind of feeling, and I shudder to think what's about to happen to this country, whoever wins, because it's sad, and it breaks my heart for the younger generation that will not get the chance, if this goes down that way, will not get the chance to enjoy any. They don't ever get a break. I mean, at least we had no social media for a little while. At least we didn't have TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff that really just takes away your mental health. At least we didn't have that to contend with on top of everything going on in the world. There is never a moment, and they went through COVID and pandemic and lost valuable education time. There is so much that these kids have already been traumatized for. Oh my goodness, I can't even think about it anymore. All I know is that I really, really, truly hope and pray that our children have a better future awaiting them than the one that it looks like it will be right now, or the one that it has looked like for the last 8 years, 4 years, whatever. I mean, I just want some people to wave some white flags and everybody to go in peace, and just, it would be really lovely. And I maintain election year is just awful. It's traumatizing. It is. But I really, really want a better future for our children. So, one day, if this podcast ever gets to a point where, plenty of people hear it, and my family hears it, hopefully they take away, and my friends, hopefully they take away the fact that from it that I am not judging anyone. I am in no position to judge. These are my thoughts. I have nothing but love and respect for every single one of you and your own opinions. I am not trying to shove anything down your throat. I am just trying to get this stuff out of my head and off my chest and out into whatever atmosphere it goes out into, anybody that hears it. But I love everyone, and I hope and pray that the world gets better, and that by this time next year, maybe we can breathe a little bit easier. Maybe we can all breathe a little bit easier, and we can put a lot of bad things to rest. I am really looking forward to 2025 being a great, great, peaceful year. And if it can't be, maybe the year after that. But we can always hope and pray. Everyone have a wonderful day. I hope you vote.